Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here, got another Master Duel video for you. So, coming at you with some cool tune. Of course, we have updated the deck to include Hydraulis Harmonia. And then in this first going second duel, we're going to get to see it in action. We're actually going second against Swordsoul that's teching 3 cool tune clip in their own build to be able to go into back-to-back on my turn. We're going to see an example of that here shortly too. But they're going to begin with Incredible Ecclesia, summon the Maliss reveal Longyon. I'm going to use Ghost Warner here. Perfect opportunity to use it. But I imagine that Longyon is about to come down is what I'm thinking here. And sure enough, it does. They're going to special the Longyon, discarding an Asuna, was that? Not Ashura, the level 7, or Adhara, that's what it's called. So then they're going to Chi Shao, as well as Moye draw here. And I'm thinking that my Hydraulis Harmonia is pretty well positioned here to not only destroy maybe a Swordsoul token potentially or something, but also get rid of this Chi Shao. However, they end up going for a bizarre move, in my opinion, Heavenly Dragon Circle, and they're adding the Swordsoul of Taya. I was honestly expecting like the Arch Nemesis Protos here. And then when they follow up with the Emergence, surely now I'm thinking, okay, I'll have to deal with the Protos, but then I can just try to use Hydraulis Harmonia. But no, they end up adding an Ashina and then just passing. Definitely an odd series of plays for my opponent here, but they're still going to have plenty of interaction on my turn, and this Harmonia is going to get a lot of work in. So we're going to start by normal summoning Cool Tune Q, and here is that surprise clip from the opponent. Definitely was not expecting this, but they're going to summon clip and synchro for 10, and I'm like, wait a second, it's still going to be a tuner, so it's got to be, yep, back-to-back. And of course, back-to-back does mess with Cool Tune quite a bit. However, here we're gonna summon the mix out of the deck with the Q. They're gonna get to use the clip effect. They end up banishing one of my back-to-backs, which is fine because I think I'm playing 2, right? No, I'm actually only on the 1. Maybe I should consider cutting like the second remix potentially for another back-to-back there. I do like having a lot of these other targets, but we'll go ahead and talk about that at the end of the video for the deck build portion. But because the mix is level 1 and I added or level 4 rather, and I added the level 1 Rotary, I can synchro summon for the level 5 remix, which will then let me not only search off the Rotary and look at their hand, but also the mix gets to pop the back-to-back. Back-to-back does get to activate here, and they're going for Incredible Ecclesia, and I already know what they're up to. I imagine they're going to try to summon an Albaz from their deck. So mix gets the pop, and then Rotary reveals the Ashina and Taya that we already knew about, as well as Kurikara Divine Carnate. Very interesting choice for a board breaker here, but nothing in hand that I have to worry about as far as like disrupting my plays on this turn. So we'll add Cool Tune Synchro, and then we're going to activate Duelist Genesis. I'm just doing this to give them an opportunity to go into Ecclesia, because again, I already figure they're going to go for Albaz, and we can definitely put a stop to that. Sure enough, here is the Fallen of Albaz. Duelist Genesis will grab me the Synchro Overtake, and as soon as they activate Albaz effects, we are going to fire off the Hydraulis Harmonia. Revealing 5 from the extra deck, I have my choice of the Malong or Packbit as far as what to dump here, but it doesn't really matter because we're just going to pop with the Harmonia effect anyway. Love that summon animation, looks so sick. Harmonia pops the Albaz so they don't get to activate, and now Synchro Overtake is just going to get me Rekko, which will pretty easily find me lethal once I synchro with Clip into RS. But like I said, and we saw, there are no hand traps in my opponent's hand to threaten me here, so we are all clear to go for lethal. And yeah, just one example of the potency of Hydraulis Harmonia. Obviously, it's no surprise how good this card is in a deck like Cool Tune, which just has synchro monsters in the extra deck anyway. So there is our first duel. Let's go and take a look at the next one. For this next duel, we're going to be up against Runick Stun. I've not encountered this variant in quite some time, and I don't feel particularly threatened by it, especially when we win the coin flip. So it's another hand where we actually opened Mourner and Harmonia as well as the Ghost Spell. So if I was against like almost any other deck, you know, aside from Stun, this would have been actually a really good going second hand. But here, we're just going to use JJ Cool Tune and Mourner to find the Q. Already got the Rotary in hand, so I'm not really scared about any hand traps here. We're going to go for the Rekko, because again, I already have Rotary in hand. And we'll just grab Clip for now, just to have it for later. I probably should have just gone, because I think I still have my regular normal summon, right? No, I don't. I never can keep track of normal summons in this deck, I swear. I always either think I have it when I don't, or don't when I think I should. But either way. Oh, their hand went by really quickly. I'm sorry about that. So their hand was Runick Golden Droplet, Runick Fountain, Rivalry of Warlords, the Continuous Trap card that stops Synchros from attacking, and Nightmare Knight. Or not Nightmare Knight. What is that card called? Clockwork Knight. Yeah. Those are the 5 cards in their hand. I remember because I just played this game like 20 minutes ago at the time of reporting, but... Oh, and then for Q, went by that kind of quickly too. It was Maxi and Runick Slumber. Decided to banish the Maxi and just not deal with it, because obviously I do plan on summoning on their turn. And as far as Runick Slumber, I actually put that at the bottom of the deck, because I really don't want them to have a Runick spell to try to get a second draw. I would really honestly rather they have like another Floodgate that I can just negate or pop and not have to deal with. So yeah, we'll just make the remix, set the Cool Tune Synchro, pass right back over to our opponent. They're going to go for the Clockwork Knight. Doesn't affect me at all. Runick Fountain. And then here is the Golden Droplet. They're going to special summon a Runick monster from the extra deck. I figure this is likely going to be Hugin. They're likely going to try to protect their Fountain here, but that actually doesn't matter, because we're going to go for the RS off Rekko plus Mix, and I don't even need to use the negate here in order to be able to pop the Runick Fountain. We just have to sequence our Chainlink well. So sure enough, here is the Hugin. And for those who may not know or remember, Hugin says if another card you control would be destroyed by card effect, you can banish this card you control instead. But they do have to control the Hugin. So we are going to go in response to Fountain effect. Chainlink 1 Rekko, target the Fountain. Chainlink 2 Mix, target the Hugin. Now we destroy the Hugin before the Fountain gets destroyed, because the Hugin effect does not negate or activate like in response on the Chainlink. Rather, it simply is a destruction replacement effect that activates upon resolution. But even if it did activate on the field, ordering the Chainlink that way would still get around it, because the last thing on the Chainlink would not be the effect to destroy Fountain, but the effect to destroy Hugin. Not that that matters, but yeah, we can pop the Hugin and the Fountain, and that's pretty much going to be it from the opponent. So even though they did have some more Floodgates, as we saw there, the Clockwork Knight does not stop me, does not limit me from being able to make plays at all. Funnily enough, again, one of their other Floodgates was Rivalry of Warlords, which they just turned everything into a machine, so I don't have to worry about that. But even if they didn't, I could just negate it or easily destroy it with Rekko. And their last Floodgate was the Synchro Zone, and they're up against Cool Tune, so not being able to attack with it with anything besides Synchro monsters is not a problem for me. Funnily enough, they had literally all the wrong Floodgates against this deck, or the wrong combination of Floodgates at least, so we were able to take away with a pretty easy win there. Here is the next duel. All right, this time we're going to be up against Maliss, and they're rocking an Ignister package with like the Hikari, the light one, and Achichi, the fire one. I almost couldn't remember its name there. Okay, so we are going first again, and this time we're really reliant on this Cool Tune Synchro resolving. Unfortunately for us, it's not going to. They've got an Ash Blossom, and they're going to use that. Obviously want to fire off the Cool Tune Synchro during the draw phase to play around the draw and Lockbird, but here they have the Ash Blossom, so it just doesn't matter. Rest of our hand is hand traps, we just have to pass back over to them. We are definitely feeling, you know, the lack of starters following the ban list here, but we'll be able to make do. So in response to a Chi-Chi, I'm actually going to fire off the Fuelos. It's going to get hit with a call by, but we're just going to use a second Fuelos. So the reason that I'm using these Fueloses here and not using an effect veiler to just negate it is because, as obviously you can see and I just mentioned, I really need another starter here. So my priority is actually not necessarily to stop their plays right off rip, but to draw a card until I find a starter. Then I can start using stuff like Veiler and Ghost Spell in order to stop their plays. At this point, I don't know if I'm up against Maliss. I figure it's probably Maliss. So even if it's not though, you know, Ghost Spell always gets in a lot of work against Cybers between cards like Splash Mage and Link Decoder, and obviously Veiler is going to put in a lot of work too at pretty much any given point during the combo line. So I'm totally fine trying to dig for some answers here. All right, so call by on the Fua, the first Fua, the second one resolves, of course. They're going to add backup at Ignister. Now they're going to link off the Achichi at Ignister in order to summon out the Lingaribo. With finding the Cool Tune Rotary here, and ultimately I'm going to let them get the search off the backup at Ignister, because it costs them a discard, and I can always use the Ghost spell against the Wizard Ad Ignister effect here. That is a little bit risky, though, because if they pass back to me without giving me any more draws, I might still not be able to find plays here. Rotary plus Ghost spell by normal summoning Rotary would give me enough to find Trackmaker and, of course, the searches, but yeah, obviously if I have to use Ghost spell, I need, at the very least, another level 3 tuner. But here they go for Maliss and Underground, so that I will absolutely Ghost spell. I do not want them to have access to Maliss cards here at all. Definitely want to keep them on like generic cyber stuff. That's much less scary. But actually, they don't want to play into Fulos at all anymore. Instead, they're just going to battle and then pass back over to me, which honestly, given the state of my hand, is not a bad call on their part. Unfortunately for them, we just ripped the actual best level 3 tuner we could here in Cool Tune Q. We go Rotary Reveal Q, and they understandably are just going to end up conceding in response to that. I think they had, what, 2 cards left in hand, and we knew one of them was the backup wizard, so I wasn't really concerned, even if they had a hand trap there. Obviously, again, we have Q plus Rotary, so we are definitely good to go playing through hand traps. Do have one last game I'm going to show you here before we finish off. And this last duel is going to be up against branded Swordsoul. So we already played against Swordsoul. That was teching, you know, a pretty decent branded package, but this one is going to be on 50 cards playing a much more extended branded package. And here we're seeing kind of a similar hand to the last game, except a lot worse. No starters. We're just going to have to set Fall into the Virtuous and then pass. So this is something that I've definitely been noticing while testing Cool Tune post ban list here, both before and after the release of Harmonia. And that's just the simple fact that I am bricking a lot more, like a lot more. Now, obviously, if I were to put in Earthbound Prisoner Stone Sweeper, that would solve the problem. But 2 things I don't really like about that. One is that it plays into Droll pretty badly, and the other is that it's a UR, and I don't really want to craft more URs if I don't have to. I've seen a lot of successful post-ban list Cool Tune lists that are not playing Stone Sweeper. In fact, from what I can tell looking at, you know, community tournaments and early rating duel results, it seems to me that the majority of people on Cool Tune are not on Stone Sweeper, so maybe it's just a bit of bad luck. Maybe it's just this one play session, but I don't know. Definitely something to consider at the very least. So as you saw, we did not find another starter there, but I am going to use this effect Veiler on the Taya. By the way, I meant to point this out earlier. I kind of ripped that Ash Blossom against their Swordsoul emergence. Where is it? Yeah, they banished it off Taya. I ripped that right off the bat because I know from my experience playing Swordsoul in the past that the best Ash Blossom target is always going to be the emergence here. Now here, I really should have taken some advice from my future self, because this duel was played before the last one we saw. I actually ended up Veilering the Taya here, and I think I definitely should have let them summon the token and then just fire it off Fulos. Like, I need to find a starter here, and as I mentioned before, negating plays and, you know, getting draws, obviously, one priority tends to be a little bit higher than the other in a situation like this. Here we are going to find a copy of JJ Cool Tune. They're going to use Max C in response. At this point, I'm honestly like, whatever, I'll just push through it because I don't know if I'm going to get another opportunity to make plays at this point. But they end up actually effect failering the mix that I summoned. So it's a little bit weird. It seems like they're also looking for draws. It seems a little bit counterintuitive, although maybe they did find plays off that one draw there. I am going to end up giving them another draw here in making the remix. And in hindsight, I actually kind of think this was a misplay too. The idea here is that I was going to pop the Taya, be able to battle, and then next turn, you know, not only be able to add back a hand trap, but also find plays with the mix. I actually, you know, in hindsight, I think that was honestly fine, as opposed to just having Ghost Spell in hand. Yeah, I think the worst part about it is that I had to give them another draw, though. But the thing is, Ghost Spell doesn't always have a ton of use against Swordsoul, so I really wanted to try to cycle for something different, like Effect Veiler. Yeah, I even took Effect Veiler over Ash Blossom, because Veiler is a lot better against Swordsoul. They're going to Ash Blossom my Mix Search, which is a little rough, but not the end of the world. Here's the Moye, but they revealed Sacred Summit, so I kind of knew even with this Veiler, I was SOL, because, well, obviously they can just use Sacred Summit's effect, revive the Taya, and then there'll be, you know, they'll be able to make plays. And sure enough, that is exactly what's going to happen here. Yeah, it's a shame. I don't know. I do think that I should have prioritized resolving Fulos, because now it's just sitting here dead in my hand, not doing anything. That really was a pivotal misplay for me in this game. So, and again, I played this game before the last one I showed you, which I don't know, it's not like I didn't know this before. This is definitely advice I've even given on the channel multiple times, but I don't know, sometimes you just get kind of caught up in the moment of a duel and, you know, one play seems right, but I think my big problem is that I don't stop to give myself enough time to think sometimes, especially on a ranked ladder. Like in a tournament, obviously you gotta kind of, you know, be a little bit more on top of that and not try not to slow play. But when it comes to ranked ladder, it's like, who cares? Like, I mean, obviously I'm not going to sit there for like a full minute and think about the play, but you can take a second. It's not like you're going to, you know, have your opponent call a judge on you for slow play. I guess they could hit the slow play report button, but I don't know if that actually even does anything. Anyway, yeah, I'm pretty well cooked at this point. They're just kind of, I don't know if they're really styling. I guess they're playing around my last card in hand being a hand trap or something, but yeah, after they summon the Barrel into Fleur, that is far more than enough for lethal. Or maybe they did the thing I always do where I just forget my opponent's not at 8,000 life points. Okay, so there is that last game. Let me show you the build here, and then we'll finish off. Okay, so here is my post-ban list deck for Kewl Toon. It's actually the same list that I showed in a recent video when I talked about the top 5 decks for Harmonia. Of course, we've now just added the Hydraulis Harmonia. So I'll link that video down below if you want to check out some other lists I've put together that also make use of Harmonia. But yeah, I mean, this is modeled pretty much almost one for one off of a lot of lists that I saw doing well in rating duels last season. People were already testing out some post-ban list Kewl Toon lists. I think it was the 6th place list in particular, even though, you know, Rotary was still at 3 at the time. They were on 1 Rotary, 2 Mix, and 2 Reco. So the main difference is that I don't own a copy of, what is it called? Overtuning? Yeah, I don't own Overtuning, so instead I'm playing a second JJ Kewl Toon, which I will admit, the JJ Kewl Toon, the second copy, has a lot of weaknesses over the Overtuning, particularly that it can be destroyed while on the field, has definitely come up for me. So if I owned a copy of Overtuning, I think that would definitely be in here. But I also think there's merit to playing a second JJ Kewl Toon and Overtuning, and I think I might even like cut a Duelist Genesis for the Overtuning instead, but definitely a good spell card to consider to slightly buff your consistency. And the card I was talking about before is Earthbound Prisoner Stone Sweeper, which can be discarded to add a level 3 or lower Fiend Tuner from deck to hand, which is going to be the Kewl Toon Reco. You don't have to play like a full play set of 3. You could play 2 or I guess even 1 if you really wanted to, but that's another good consistency buffing card. They're both URs, and I'm not like the most sold on them yet, so that's why I haven't bothered crafting them yet. But if I continue in this season to see a lot of Kewl Toon lists having success with them, I might decide to dip into my my bank here and give some of those cards a try. But the Harmonia is definitely a very nice power buff for obviously not only Kewl Toon, but any synchro-based deck. To the end of Harmonia, we are playing both Malong and Itting Master Packbit. I'm also playing Visus Omri Terra, which is definitely very optional in Kewl Toon, but with the Hydraulis Harmonia, it does give you an option if all you have access to is Harmonia plus Rotary. This obviously would come up a lot more when Rotary was at 3, but I guess it could still come up with Rotary being at 1. It's actually not that inconceivable, right? Because, you know, a lot of common responses to Kewl Toon effects to add a monster are to destroy it, even if they don't negate it. So that way they can't synchro using the Kewl Toon monster on hand or on field and 1 in hand, right? So yeah, I mean, in that scenario, right, you could like Reco for Harmonia, they pop the Reco, or I mean, sorry, Reco for Rotary, but they pop the Reco, you can respond with Harmonia, and then still be able to make something to trigger the Rotary to add a spell card and continue your plays. But that is a little bit of a specific scenario, and I think in all likelihood, the second back-to-back is probably better, but I don't know, it's worth considering at the very least. Could also simply cut Fallen the Virtuous, and that would free up some extra X slots for the second back-to-back, and then possibly another like another Track Maker, or maybe even another Harmonia target. Don't really know what that would be, maybe Wind Pegasus off the top of my head, but I really do like Fallen the Virtuous. Very, very good card. Obviously really good at board breaking, and just really good consistency tool overall for being able to not only deal with the first threat, but also a follow-up one by, of course, adding or setting another copy with the Albion. And always good to have a board breaker that's good going first or second. So if not the Fallen of the Virtuous, I'd probably have like, well, Super Poly would also take up the extra deck slots. Maybe like Triple Tack or just some more hand traps or something. Probably at least one, if not two copies of Triple Tactics talent for sure. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about the list for now. Thank you as always for watching. Super appreciate the support. That is going to do it though. So let's move on to our outro so that we can thank our YouTube members and Patreon subscribers. Hey everybody, Hexlex here. Thank you so very much for watching all the way to the very end of the video, which by the way is one of the best ways to support the channel. Speaking of supporting the channel, take a look at the names on screen. These are folks who have been so generous as to either join as a YouTube member or subscribe over on patreon.com/Hexlex to support. There's also perks for doing so. If you would like to see YouTube videos early, as well as some exclusive videos that get uploaded to YouTube, but for one reason or another I decide not to publish, definitely go ahead and hit that join button to see content early as well as some exclusive content. If you're looking for more exclusive content, over on patreon.com, I upload exclusive videos that are not posted on YouTube just about every single day. Whether you choose to subscribe over on Patreon, join as a YouTube member, or simply continue to watch, your support is greatly appreciated. Thank you so very much. But for now, this is Hexlex. I am signing out, and I hope that you have a fantastic day.